everyone. I'm so excited to be with Jana Reed today. Jana is the COO for the Nonprofit Finance Fund. She has so much experience. Before that, she was the COO of iMentor. And before that, she's done so many things, like co-founded Ascend Learning. It's a network of schools in Brooklyn. She served as the chief of schools at Citizens of the World Charter Schools. It's a national network. She's got so much experience. And Jana also is a graduate of Simmons University and the Harvard Kennedy School. She serves on many boards, including the board of Explore Charter Schools. And she's a proud member, this is a shared membership, of the APIA Education Leaders. I'm so thrilled, Jana, for you to be here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Annalisa. It's great to be here.
So, Jana, let's start with identity. How do you identify, and how has that shaped your career?
Oh, yes. I identify as a Korean American adoptee. And it's interesting. How has it shaped my career? I have a twin sister, so that is kind of interesting that we were able to grow up together. Um, but I think the other element of my identity is that we also grew up in poverty. Yeah, we were adopted when we were 9 months old into a very large family. Once we were adopted, there were 9 kids in the family, and we grew up in New Hampshire. Yeah,
So, you also mentioned that you didn't have a lot of money. So, and
yeah,
there were nine kids. I wasn't expecting that as well. So, what
yeah,
was that dynamic like?
yeah. It's hard, when you look back, it's hard to kind of put all the pieces together. I can tell you that it was really challenging. It was really challenging. My parents divorced when I was quite young, and so by then, the older siblings had already moved out of the house, and so there were four of us that were living at home with my mom. Yeah.
So, there maybe was a spark. I mean, you have had an entire career of service. So,
Mm.
I'm curious, did any of your upbringing shape that drive to education or service?
That I started in politics and then transitioned to the private sector in an education, for-profit education startup, and then to nonprofit education or public service. Um, and I think, like, as I look back over my career, I think that there's definitely a through line around kind of the roles I've had and the choices that I've made, in that I'm always attracted to these big, tough roles where we're working really hard to disrupt systems, to bring change, to forward move the systems and the processes and the supports for people to live choice-filled lives.
When you think about, being Korean, having these origins of having a twin sister, was your family, did they share that identity, or were they of a different identity?
Yeah, no, they did not share that identity. And I really didn't connect with being Korean until I got to much, much older, much older. And part of that was definitely because, the family who I loved were not Korean. And also part of it was, probably not unfamiliar, but this idea that I needed to identify outside of who I was in order to be accepted. And so I really didn't explore things related to Korean culture or any of that, or even really talk about being Korean. In fact, spent a lot of my time trying to prove and show that I was the least Korean I could be. And it's really only more recently in my career that I've really started to explore the other parts of my identity.
Has there been something that has brought your curiosity to it, or what's brought it to the surface for you?
What's been really meaningful and touching has been the APIA K-12 leaders group that we're in. We all do this really important work, and is there community amongst us? Can we all come together in support of one another, but also in pursuit of this work we're doing on behalf of our students? And it was so powerful. It was so great. And I think that is one of the more meaningful experiences I've had recently. I think the other piece is that my twin sister, had a daughter who is biracial, although we like to say she's only Korean, no offense to my brother-in-law. And that's also been really interesting. Like when you start to see a young person, you start to think about like, oh, wait, and you start to see yourself in them, and you also start to kind of explore and think about what's going to be important to them as they're navigating their identity.
So let's continue on with your career. So you have had so many roles and have had impact, and you've shared that it's been about taking on tough problems, trying to see how you can disrupt. And I'm curious, when you think about leadership today versus leadership before, because you've been in the sector for a bit, what's coming to mind for you about, oh, it's changed?
It used to be that the leadership competency that I thought about a lot and I drove toward was this sort of like, I'm going to work really hard and I'm going to set a really good example for how I want other people to work as well. So when I'm in my first C-suite role, I distinctly remembering I'm just going to work really hard and I'm going to be a really good example for everybody in this organization. And that's just like nonsense. Like I'm just gonna work like it doesn't work. It doesn't see the humanity in other people. It doesn't see the humanity in me, right? Like you might reach all the goals, but the path to getting there doesn't seem quite right. And now we don't do that, or we shouldn't be doing that anymore. And now there are more spaces and there are more elements of leadership that really press us to think about and see the humanity in one another and also reach goals, right? And I think about that all the time. I think about how people really need different things from their leaders than what we were willing to give before.
So, Jana, as someone who thinks deeply about culture, I know that you thought about your own organization's culture and how do we support our people, especially when we've had gone through things like COVID, in being able to give them the different things they need, but also be a unifying organization that is still work, right? We can't be all things all the time. How have you thought about culture and your role in shaping that culture?
Well, I'm a COO, so not surprisingly, I want there to be a lot of frameworks and a lot of like processes. I want there to be like a lot of like and I say that like jokingly, but I actually think it's really important that we set out with something that people can like look at and understand even as they practice and even as it gets messy, but then we have to have a starting place that people can kind of adhere to or kind of like look at and touch and feel. And so I do think that it's important as we think about culture that there be some values, some operating agreements and things that kind of bring us together. um, and then I think that can you say the question one more time?
Yeah, as a leader, and I know you're a COO, so I love the frameworks.
Yeah,
How do you think about culture and supporting your people who want
okay, yes,
different things from an organization? How do you
yeah.
support them with, yes, we can help you grow here, and also there's got to be some frameworks to help provide some structure.
When we think about culture, again, I think we start with those values alignment. We move into operating agreements, but we keep those loose and flexible enough so that people can move in and out of them as they're doing their work and as they think about those things, community, my own professional development and my work outcomes, and that all of those things are there for me to flex in and out of as I'm kind of navigating the workplace.
For you, Jenna, as you've been working hard, you got in your C-suite role, and you realized, okay, this is not the way. How have you been so successful? If I were to want to follow in your footsteps to say, I too want to have a big seat at the table, what is one power move or leadership practice that has helped you been so successful that you could share?
I think the thing that I've learned along the way that has been really important has been one to, you know, clearly name when I'm wrong. And and that's hard because, we're told, no, put yourself out there, don't be afraid, keep going, be boastful, do this, do that. And like it's really important to know when to say that you're wrong. And it's also really important to know when to ask for help. And those are really, really hard and have really served me well. I think the other piece, and this is a piece that is also something that I practice with every day. In fact, just today have had to really think about this, which is when you're in a leadership role, people need a lot of things from you, and you need to share a lot of information and a lot of vision and a lot of strategy with other people. And like it comes with the gig, right? But something I've learned along the way is the importance of making room for other people in that work. And it's not just the transaction of I'll set the vision and we'll set a strategy and now you're going to go and do it, or we're going to do it together, but to really invite people into the space of co-creation right from the beginning. It's so important. And linking back to those things that I was sharing around, like I really think we have to think about community and people's professional development as well as outcomes for the organization. Folks need to be involved early in the conversation around how you're doing all of those elements.
It's so nice to hear you say that because often we want to go it alone, right? We want to show people we're strong, we don't need help. And so we do these work products by ourselves, and then we're kind of surprised when they just land flat. So I mean, it is a wise move. And yes, you're successful and that you've had so much impact, Jenna. And has been a transformation that actually the more that I can invite others and to show, hey, I need you, it can't only be me. It's actually even more to that point you had started earlier, is my intent matching my impact. You can actually better match your intent when you invite others. So that's huge. I mean, was there a moment when you realized actually I have to invite people now early? And yes, it's not just senior people, but it's everyone. So
Yeah.
was there a turning point for you that really helped to crystallize that leadership needs to look this way instead of being just me?
It's not that there's a moment, but there's a lot of feedback that I get around like, yeah, but are we really part of that? Or yeah, but did you really make that decision? Or and then even worse is when the feedback is, what if I disappoint you? Like that just is like the when I hear that, my heart breaks. I like get sweaty. I'm like, no, no, it's not about that. It's about your growth and development. It's about the work for the organization. But it's that dynamic of people not feeling like they're brought in and they're working alongside you as you're making these, as you're co-creating.
It's so important to hear now because I hear if you want to have what is that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it
Yeah.
truly is such a good example of we need to bring people in. And there's
Mhm.
going to be some wild comments we had not anticipated, and yet those need to be considered as well. So I love this so
Mhm.
much, Jana. Okay, with all this said, are you ready for lightning round questions?
Oh, I'm so excited. Yes.
Okay, first question, chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, chocolate,
Cooking or takeout?
cooking.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Oh, definitely climb a mountain.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Out in public or no. I would do it, but I feel like I've jumped that. I think that's for younger people now.
How would you rate your karaoke skills on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being Mariah Carey.
I can't, it's mortifying. I am like -10.
What's a recent book you read?
Oh, okay. This is embarrassing to admit. Maybe not embarrassing. Um, I spent a long weekend with my niece, and I really wanted to understand like what she likes to read because we watch shows together and we play games, but I wanted to, so she could not put down this series called The Inheritance Games. Have you heard of these? Oh, they're great. They're like for 12-year-olds, 8-year-olds, something like that. Anyway, I read the whole series in a long weekend with her. It was,
What's your favorite way to practice self-care?
oh, going to dance performances. Definitely. Definitely, especially like contemporary dance.
What advice would you give your younger self?
It would be something around forgiveness, like forgive yourself. And then probably also I would say to my younger self, like, you're going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then where can we find you? Like LinkedIn, anywhere else?
Oh, Instagram, Jana L. Reed. I think I have an X account, but I don't really use it.
Wonderful. And then last question is any parting thoughts, recommendations, or final asks to share?
I think everybody should go and experience art. It is just, it's so beautiful. Go to a museum, go see a dance performance, go hear a great piece of music. It's just, we need more art in our lives.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jana. This has been great.